So if you follow my One Punch Man content, you're familiar with the term above dragon, and I've made videos about this before, but things are always changing in One Punch Man. And I feel like now is probably a good time to make an updated video on this, aside from me constantly getting requests for this too. So let me explain what above dragon is and the possible candidates for that level. So first of all, above dragon is technically not a real thing, I guess. At this point, it's strictly just a fan term. But let's go into the origin of it. So in the One Punch Man encyclopedia, aka the data book, there's a portion in it that had an interview with the creator one where he did a Q&A. And one of the questions he was asked was what is Boros' disaster level? And he said greater or equal to dragon. That right there is the birth of this controversial term / level. Because that's a weird, ambiguous thing to say, right? Especially given that we have the exact parameters of the power scale laid out for us in this series with disaster levels. And we know right off the bat that the level above dragon is God. So why doesn't one just say that Boros is disaster level God? Well, we still don't have an answer to this, but I guess the leading opinion is that he doesn't want to name drop disaster level God yet. And that makes sense to me. I mean, just following the series, you can see that one is pretty hesitant in saying disaster level God at all. I think the phrase disaster level God has only been said 2 or 3 times within the series, really. Just talking about the manga, of course. I'm not going to be going into webcomic stuff in this video. Going into above dragon webcomic stuff would need a video dedicated to itself. But first, this video is sponsored by Dr. Phone. Wondershare Dr. Phone helps you recover, transfer, backup, restore all your phone's data, unlock your phone screen, repair your abnormal iOS devices, and even root your Android phones. It's smart, powerful, and useful. And they're not lying when they say that. This software is actually pretty useful, and I wish I could have came across this sooner when I actually did have issues with my phone, because you can literally unlock your screen using this software. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to have to start from zero with my phone, but just trust me, this thing will do it. For some reason you just can't get into your phone and you have no other options, well, this will help you get in there. It also has a system repair feature where it can fix over 20 iOS problems, such as black screen of death, stuck on Apple logo, and stuck in recovery mode. So yeah, check out Dr. Phone. I've got a nice old affiliate link in the description, and you'll also be helping me out at the same time. And I also think that this is software that can genuinely help you with your phone problems. Thanks, guys. But anyway, disaster level God is the biggest deal in the series, pretty much, aside from, Saitama. So it's understandable that one is kind of holding that card until maybe the final arc of the series, possibly. According to a lot of the community, this gave birth to the above dragon class and also made Boros the very first one. And we also interpreted this meaning that Boros is too strong to be a disaster level dragon, but not strong enough to be a disaster level God. So he's kind of in this shadow realm between dragon and God, which is above dragon. And this imaginary tier can also be applied to the other disaster levels as well, like demon and wolf. So we've established that, but where does the term above dragon come from? Well, if we go forward a couple years from the databook Q&A, we'll come to Murata's live streams. Murata, the artist of the manga, where he was asked, what is the disaster level of Orochi? And his answer was more or less the same that one gave, regarding Boros' disaster level, equal to or above dragon. And the Reddit user Scissor32 was translating this, and he took it as Murata saying above dragon. But another translator, HDX514, clarified that it's pretty much the same thing that one said, meaning that it's greater or equal to dragon. But I personally really like the above dragon that Scissor came up with, so I kind of just ran with that term. But this is also confirming the existence of another above dragon here with Orochi, considering that, Murata put him in the same tier that one put Boros in. But let's stick with Orochi for now, because he's also a part of the above dragon equation that I see the series presenting to us. So in chapter 71, after Bakuzan eats a monster cell, cell, Goketsu says, "You're a splendid success. I bet you're a threat level dragon like me." So that's pretty much confirming two things, that Goketsu and Bakuzan are both in fact dragons, or at least according to Goketsu. Now after this, they get into a little scuffle, and it's, in my opinion, heavily implied that Goketsu can kill Bakuzan with a single strike. And clearly that means that they are not equal, despite just establishing that they have the same disaster level. And that brings me to the other fan terms in the community when we come to specific disaster leveling, to where you'll have like low, mid, and high. So if we're looking at Bakuzan and Goketsu, ostensibly it seems that Bakuzan could be considered a low dragon and Goketsu a high dragon. Because like I said, given that they are both designated as dragons, but there is a huge gap between them. And maybe it doesn't mean one is low and one is high, maybe one is mid and one is high, or maybe one is low and one is mid. But that brings us to where Orochi fits into this. So before Goketsu shows his one strike power against Bakuzan, he says, "There are stronger monsters," referring to like stronger than Bakuzan. "If you take that attitude with the Monster King, Orochi, he'll step on you like garbage. He's the Monster Association's boss. No monster on Earth is stronger." So Goketsu pretty much confirming Orochi is stronger than him, but also going back to what Murata himself said about Orochi being in the greater or equal to dragon tier. I think this is showing us the hierarchy of like a low dragon, a high dragon, and then someone who is above dragon. So aside from Boros and Orochi, there are other characters who could fit this tier. So first of all, Tatsumaki, she's been like a long time above dragon candidate, and that was even before we got to see her most ridiculous feats in the manga, but now that we have, they are certainly above what we have seen of like typical dragons, even like high dragons. She objectively has some of the best feats in the series at this point, quite easily. That brings me to the other above dragon candidate, and that is Sairochi. This is the fusion of Psychos and Orochi, and considering that we just established Orochi to be above dragon, it makes sense that a fusion with him would probably be above dragon themselves. And Sairochi certainly takes Orochi's feats to the next level. Feats that were already considered to be above dragon by the community. And her best feat, in my opinion at least, is like a definitive god level feat for sure. The iconic sequence where her laser energy beam thing goes through that continent. And that maybe sounds a little confusing. Like, how can you have a disaster level god feat but not be disaster level god? Well, I mean, it just goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning about how one is reluctant to establish that something is god. So until that character is straight out said to be god level, then I guess we'll just have to classify them as above dragon. But the feat itself, I think, is objectively god level, especially if we go to the definition of disaster level god, and that is a threat to humanity. And that could fit a whole bunch of other characters in the series like Black S and Beefcake, but they don't exactly strike me as like even above dragons, really. And I also think Genos fits into this thing where he has feats that are at a higher level than what he inherently is. Like Daedric Genos, or just the current Genos, is dragon probably, somewhere around there, but his best feat going against Sairochi is close to above dragon. And of course Blast, who, at least in my opinion, is minimum above dragon. He might even be straight up god, but we still need to see a lot more from him before that. What we have seen from him, I think, is more than enough to like certify him as an above dragon if there ever was one. I'm not even talking about like his black hole ability stuff. I'm simply just talking about his speed feat against Flashy Flash. And let me point out that Flashy Flash is also pretty much a consensus high dragon in the community. And I think chapter 96 alone proves that. I mean, he's moving so fast, it looks like time has stopped. And he also fought 2 dragons by himself and killed them both with one blow. So yeah, he's probably a high dragon. And then just go to what Blast did to him. It's actually similar to what Goketsu did to Bakuzan, as to where they're both literally defeating their opponents via fear. But Flashy Flash is obviously tiers above Bakuzan, so Blast's fear victory is that much more substantial. And also in the encyclopedia, Fubuki Miss F says that Blast could defeat all of the S-Class at once. And again, in my opinion, it seems like that might be true. But the last two candidates are new to the manga's continuity, and it's not really like definitive yet that they are above dragons, but it seems like they probably are. So the current Garo, or just the monster form that Garo is currently in, seems to be, you know, probably above dragon, maybe, although he is having a pretty competitive fight with Bang right now, who is going all out, of course. So until this fight concludes and we get to see more fights of Garo, it's really hard to make out if he is like above dragon or if he's just like a really strong high dragon. And yeah, I know it can get a little annoying. And then finally we have Golden S, who just had a consensus high dragon job to him. He just easily dominated Vomited Fear Ugly in the most recent chapter, and before that Vomited Fear Ugly had, you know, kind of low or mid-diffed Darkshine, who was also for the most part a consensus high dragon up until that point, although now Darkshine is at a confusing level of power, and the way that the story is progressing him makes me think, like, was he ever really a high dragon? But he certainly is one of the strongest S-class heroes, and Vomited Fear Ugly, like I said, dominated him. And now we're coming to Golden S, who is dominating Vomited Fear Ugly even more so. So if he was a high dragon, and if we're seeing a level of domination here similar to the Goketsu and Bakuzan stuff, then does that mean that Golden S is in fact an above dragon himself? Probably, but we'll have to see how this all plays out. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. If you like the video, guys, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.